Cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends, as this video is brought to you by drroto.com.
All right, we're back for another edition of Monkey Knife Fight Weekend Edition. As you know, we obviously have Derek do that early in the week. We now have my good friend Robbie Johnson doing the Monday night Monkey Knife Fight. But we're giving you the weekend ones. A lot more games, a lot more stuff, a lot more actual games to play, a lot more unique lineups, setups, ones to choose from. So we're excited to be back here again this week. And as always, sitting right over there, it's my good friend Colby Conway. Colby, how's it going, man?
I'm doing well. Glad football's back. Had a nice season debut last night. Actually, I only put one bet in, or one contest, I should say, I entered on Monkey Knife Fight, and I actually hit it. So that was good. I did the Zeke less than 16.5 fantasy points, Godwin over 15.5 fantasy points, turned 5 into 15, and I'm hoping to use that to parlay into some Sunday successes.
Yeah, so good job, off to a great start. I see for you. I didn't play any because I'm from Ohio, so I can't go in and play my own. So I'm just living vicariously through all your money winnings, but that's good. I still want to win some money for everybody out there, so I'm glad you're all listening this week. And let's get started. As always, if you're not a member of Monkey Knife Fight, first off, you should be. Make sure you go there. Go to monkeyknifefight.com. Use promo code DOC when you sign up, and you get. They'll double your money. We'll double your money up to $100. So you can turn 100 into 200. So you're playing with free. You're playing with the house money. So you might as well go out and just bet some of these. Put some money down on some of these more or less touchdown dances or rapid fire games, and we're going to tell you how those all work. And so Colby. Let's talk about. So we got 3 different games. We've got your more or less, which has you can either do the random ones that they have within the slates, or you can actually pick a specific game. So if you feel really good about like the Browns, Chiefs, and you feel like there's going to be a lot of points scored and yards and that kind of stuff, you can go more on each of them instead of less. But you can pick a game, or you can just do the random ones that are on the slates. So let's talk about then the early game. I know you have in the article this week, which of course is on drroto.com under the premium section, you did some early game touchdown dance game, which sounds like a lot of fun. Why don't you kind of explain how that game works and some of your picks that you have went with that you feel like are almost just basically a lock to get a touchdown this week?
Yeah, so with the early slate for the touchdown basically that I had done there. So basically what it is you get it's a pretty expansive uh, selection of available players from which you can choose. So when I jump in there, I can go to the early slate of games. I'll go ahead and enter the touchdown dance. And basically you have the option. So you can pick the bare minimum, which is you're going to pick 3 players, and essentially they have to get 3 touchdowns between the 3 of them. If so, 1.5 times your money. If you bump it up to 3.5 touchdowns, so basically 4, you can triple your money. And if you get 5 touchdowns between the 3, you're looking at 5x your money. So when you're looking in there, a lot of big names. Do you want, because when you do your season-long snake drafts, you're not getting Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, and Jonathan Taylor all on the same team.
Exactly.
But if you want them all for week 1, by God, go in there, click, 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 select your touchdown number that you want and go for it. So looking at it there's a lot of need in there really to like. James Robinson going against Houston, DeAndre Hopkins, former Houston great, has absolutely torched Tennessee throughout his career. He's someone to look at. You got Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. San Fran's playing the crappy Detroit Lions. You could go a bunch of different ways there. I'll let you guys check out the article, guys and gals, I should say. Check out the article to see the 3 that I'm actually putting into a contest that I wrote up in the article. But one that I didn't put in that I'll tell you that I'm very, very interested in playing would either be Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf. Xavier Rhodes isn't playing for Indianapolis. That weakens their corners a little bit. Let Russ cook. I think that movement's going to gain some steam again. And Shane Waldron came over from the Rams. He's going to implement some of those play calling ideologies from Sean McVay. I think it's really going to help the Seattle passing attack. So I would look to get one of those Seattle wide receivers into a touchdown dance, and it's really up to you which one you want to go with. As of right now on Friday afternoon, I'm leaning DK Metcalf, but I'm a very, very well documented Tyler Lockett stan for DFS purposes.
All right, good call there. Yeah, I think the Seahawks, that's going to be a pretty good game there. So yeah, I definitely love that pick. All right, so the next game is called More or Less. And again, you can do this in one of two ways. You can either go and pick a game that you really want to focus on, like I said, Browns, Chiefs, maybe the Seattle Indy game, as you mentioned, and you can go in there, and then there'll be different games within that game. So the More or Less will be in there, and there's usually various options. So usually you can get two players that will be going head to head. Not head-to-head. It's really just two players, and you pick more or less based on either fantasy points or yards, whether it's passing, receiving, or it might be receptions. But you have a choice that you're going to go more or less. Then you can go, if you get 2 out of 2, you multiply your money times 3.6. So if you put in $10, you're winning 36. After that, then it goes up, of course, based on numbers. And then, of course, that means you win more money. So you've got a 3. If you get 3 out of 3, it's 5x. If you get 5 out of 5, it's 20x. If you get 8 out of 8, it's 125. And if you want to go big and go for a 10 out of 10, and that's a tough one, but you can win 500 extra money. So if you put in $10, that's right, you have $5,000. So there's your more or less game. This one's a favorite of mine, but I prefer, of course, the fantasy points. Yards, fantasy points to me is a little bit easier because, if they get less yards, but you get a touchdown, then you get more fantasy points. And, we have that historical consistency data at our fingertips, of course, Colby. So that's the one I'm leaning towards. And so I'm going to kind of throw out my one pick that I already kind of locked in on, and you can play this, of course, and win some money, and then you can just send it to me. But the more or less for one of the early games is Jalen Hurts and Ryan Tannehill, both at 22.5 fantasy points. Now, again, it doesn't matter how they get there. And let's be honest, we know Jalen Hurts is going to get to 22.5 points in a much different way than Ryan Tannehill is. Jalen's going to be running. Tannehill's going to be passing. So both of them at 22.5 points. So interestingly enough, going to the historical consistency information that we've got available, 22.5, I thought, man, that seems a little high for Tannehill. They kind of like to run the ball. They're going to want to ball control it, but they are playing Arizona. And as you mentioned, this could become a quick shootout real quick. Tennessee definitely has a very bad pass defense. Kyler Murray, D-Hop, all those guys will probably light them up. So I feel like as much as they want to use Derrick Henry, I don't know if they're going to be able to if this game gets out of hand and they got to come back. So I looked at last year going to get quarterbacks and fantasy points given up to quarterbacks. Arizona gave up is kind of in the middle. They're an average defense. They're ranked between 11th and 22nd. Tannehill over the last 2 years at home against an average defense, and this one blew me away, Colby. He is averaging 28.69 fantasy points a game and has an 80% consistency rating. That was shocking to me. I mean, we know Tannehill has some good games, but I did not expect him to have these kind of numbers. So definitely I'm going more there. The other one, of course, is Jalen Hurts. We don't have a lot of really strong data on him from a consistency standpoint. Kind of came onto the Eagles last year a little bit late. But again, Philadelphia, Atlanta, both defenses are terrible. This is going to be a shootout. Matt Ryan's going to be firing the ball all over the place, scoring touchdowns, racking up yards. I feel like Jalen Hurts has got to do everything he needs to do. He might get his 22.5 points just from rushing yards. Who knows? But I feel like 22.5 should be an easy one for him. He'll probably rush for a touchdown, might have 100 yards rushing. So I feel like that's pretty much a no-brainer. Your thoughts on those two picks from my standpoint?
I like both of them. Tannehill's a guy I really like, and I think I have to love him now based on the 28 fantasy points per game mark in those similar matchups. So love that one. And then if you check out the Consistently Cashin article and podcast done by Ron Rigney and yours truly here at drroad.com as well, you'll see that we are very pro Jalen Hurts in week 1 as well. So that kind of all
there you go.
lines up quite well. And then I'll take it a step further. I love the more or less. I think this is something that I played one on Thursday night. In the article, I did a more or less. And actually right now, while we were sitting here off air, we were talking about, find another game that you like. Well, I'm looking here, and that Jets Carolina game, I don't know how much fun it's going to be to watch, but there's a more or less DJ Moore, 59.5 receiving yards, who I drafted in the Kings Classic and who I'm happy is my wide receiver 1. So I'm okay with that. And then Corey Davis, 50.5 receiving yards. Jamison Crowder isn't playing, so that's going to help the situation for those Jets wide receivers. So DJ Moore, more than 59.5 receiving yards. Corey Davis, more than 50.5 receiving yards. I'm gonna put $5 on that, turn 5 into 18, and be pretty happy come Sunday. Hopefully they do it in the first half, and then I don't have to worry about it in the second half. Those are always the best.
Definitely. All right. Well, I'm going to go to the last game that they have available to play, and that's a game called Rapid Fire. So it's fairly similar to the more or less, but instead of more or less for the yards or the individual themselves, it's actually a one player versus another player in a category. So I'm looking at the one rapid fire, again, 3x, it goes 3x, 5x, all of those kind of things. Again, you have to get them both right, but it's Matt Ryan against Josh Allen. But they're giving Josh Allen 14.5 passing yards as kind of the, cover, or just kind of like the line. So Matt Ryan versus Josh Allen plus 14.5 passing yards. I tell you what, I'm leaning Matt Ryan here. I think this is a shootout. I think the Pittsburgh-Buffalo game, both are very good defenses. I think that could be more of a slugfest, not necessarily from a running game standpoint, but I feel like both teams are going to be struggling a little bit to move the ball. Both have very good defenses, as I mentioned. I assume Pittsburgh's going to try to use Najee Harris more from a running standpoint to keep Josh Allen off the field. So I think I would take Matt Ryan there. The other one is Stephon Diggs versus Calvin Ridley. It's pretty much an even. They're only giving Ridley 5.5 receiving yards. Again, I think this one, though, is easy Calvin Ridley. Diggs will get targeted quite a bit. We know that, but I got to feel like the Steelers are going to be smart enough to, focus on him. Their number 2 receivers, either Emmanuel Sanders or Gabriel Davis, not necessarily great, or at least Ridley has Russell Gage. But again, Philadelphia's defense is so bad. I feel like then Ridley wins down. So I'm going to take both the Falcons in this one. What are your thoughts on the rapid fire, and what are your thoughts on those two picks?
Yeah, I'm good with those picks. The rapid fire for me, these are the hard ones. Like these ones I'm looking at them and I'm like clicking through, and that's like, yep, I like that one. Oh, that one's tough. Like I was looking at some for the early slate, and usually we're comparing Matt Ryan and other quarterbacks and players at their own position. And I come here to rapid fire for the early slate, and the first one I click on, we're talking about, there's various different ones in there. Like there's one, I got to find the one that I was looking at exactly, but yeah, for fantasy points, Christian McCaffrey or Ryan Tannehill with a 2.5 point bonus. Well, you just said that Ryan Tannehill gets like 800,000 fantasy points per game at home against an average defense. So is McCaffrey getting 801,000? I'm not sure. So those are some interesting ones if you get like a matchup that you're pretty confident. And I do believe that, yes, so Monkey Knife Fight is PPR. So that definitely lends a boost to some of those pass catching back. So I don't have an entry into a rapid fire yet. I think I will kind of go, I'll go vicariously through your pick as you're going vicariously through me. So
Right.
maybe I'll take a look at what you had and throw that in there. But the rapid fire, if you really want to get the wheels turning on a Sunday morning, whether you had your coffee or not, I would take a look at those rapid fire ones because I think they're the hardest ones on the available games to choose from.
Couldn't agree more. All right, so let's wrap it up here. Let's go. Let's win everybody some big money here. What do you say, Colby? So I went to a more or less early slate, and I went to the 5-player one where you're going to get 15 times your money. So you put in $10, you're walking away with 150. So here they are. They're pretty much, the interesting thing is they're almost all the same points. So again, fantasy points only, nothing else. Josh Allen, McCaffrey, Kyler Murray, Kyler Murray, all at 24.5 fantasy points. Dalvin Cook and Tannehill at 22.5 fantasy points. Now, think about it, and I'm going to give you the historical consistency numbers for these folks playing in these game scenarios. Josh Allen at home against a good defense last 2 years, 19.52, well below the 24.5, only 43% consistency. Christian McCaffrey, home against an average defense, 26.15, 100% consistent. Kyler Murray, away versus a bad defense, 27.9, 100% consistent. Dalvin Cook, away against a bad defense. This is another one of these blowout ones. 28.25, 86% consistent, and it's only 22.5 for the more or less. And then, of course, Ryan Tannehill, we already know the 22.5. So I'm going all mores, but less on Josh Allen to win $150. Based on the historical consistency, they're all pretty much well over. Like if one of these were around 22.5 or 24.5, maybe I'll think a little bit different based on matchups. And, again, I'm basing history based on current, but man, they're all like way over or way under. So I'm going to go 4 mores, 1 less. The less is going to be Josh Allen. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's ballsy, but it's what it takes to win to get that big multiplier. So I'm all for
it. All right, cool. All right, well, there's some of our favorites, as Colby had mentioned. Don't forget to go to drroto.com, Colby and I's actual article, which none of these picks were in the article. So you're going to get these picks basically for free as part of your package here, listening to the podcast, and you're going to get some bonus picks also in the article. So we're here to win you lots of money. We'll certainly recap next week how well we did, and hopefully we're winning. Everybody, we're all going to win money. I'm going to win money. Well, I'm not going to win money. Colby's going to win money for me and then send it to me for Christmas. But everybody out there win some money. Don't forget, you can go to drroto.com, use promo code DOC. Bob, and you save 10% on your subscription if you haven't got the subscription. And again, if you haven't signed up for monkeyknifefight.com, don't forget to go there and use the promo code DOC, D-O-C, to get your 100% match, to get your $200 total. By putting $100 in, you'll get another $100. So, Colby, tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter, etc., and also some of your good articles coming out this weekend and podcasts as well on the Consistently Cashing side.
Yep. So drroto.com, obviously a lot of content will be there. On Twitter at Colby R. Conway. And what you can see on Dr. Roto, well, obviously this podcast right here, we'll have the article that Bob had mentioned in regards to the Monkey Knife Fight picks that we have, and then Consistently Cashing. So if you play FanDuel and DraftKings and you love the double ups or the 50-50s and you just want to play cash games, we use the consistency concept. And once we have a little bit more data this year, we can really hone in on the clutch rates and the consistency ratings and stuff like that to formulate those cash games lineups using consistent players. So if there is a potentially very high upside yet slightly volatile option, you have enough consistency in your lineup to kind of offset that. So all of that and more each week of the season here at drroto.com.
All right. Thanks, Colby. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Bob_Lung. All the consistency articles all week long, podcasts, etc., on drroto.com. Don't forget to subscribe to those. So For Colby Conway, I'm Bob Lung. Everybody have a great weekend. Happy first weekend of the NFL. And we'll see you again next week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out Dr. Rodo.